Hello and welcome to KYC News. In this video, we will discuss about wetlands. What exactly are wetlands? How can you tell whether you are examining a property that is covered in marshes? As well as for investors in land like us, why wetlands may present a challenge. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Therefore, to begin, I'm merely going to demonstrate American environmental definition from the Protection Agency of the methods for locating wetlands, and as you can see, it states, wetlands are places that frequently flood, or soaked in groundwater or surface water at a time and frequency. Nothing but blah. Okay, I'm dozing off already. That's both really dull and vague. In essence, what it comes if you take the time down to read that carefully, truly consider what it is expressing, after which you sort of read the article's follow-up explanation. Basically, it says wetlands are places where there is a regular or extended water presence either nearby or on the ground, the soil's topography that inadvertently establishes a natural ecosystem where specific plant types can grow with fauna or fish can live there and survive. Most people think of marshes when they consider issues like this. Similar to wetlands, which have a lot of grass that essentially develops through water, or in wetlands, where it resembles a lake with trees encroaching upon it like this, or bogs or fens similar to this, and yes, in actuality, these all serve as clear illustrations. And they are a type pretty simple to recognize simply because you can gaze at it when you notice the vegetation or the water that pretty much proves that there is a marsh of some kind habitat is present here. However, the issue with the following definition is that it extends beyond marshes, bogs, marshes, or comparable terrain. Something that is familiar to most of us or previously heard of are the Florida Everglades. This is simply a huge expanse of wetlands down here. But the intriguing development, the thing with the Everglades is, based on the season of the year you are viewing specific components of the land, whether or not you see water's presence in whatever form. There is a good chance that you might be moving through, or for that matter, the Everglades regardless, any other wetland region, and you might be moving along stable, ostensibly dry ground, and you wouldn't believe that region is a wetland. However, according to this definition, it's possible that these are wetlands. Wetlands nowadays are actually crucial to the globe because they offer a variety of advantages and simply behave naturally, an abundance of fish, as well as plants, animals, and even people. In essence, we require wetlands. We cannot simply fill them in or eliminate them, because they are an obstruction with dirt. These lands are quite valuable to the entire environment, and we don't wish for them to disappear. And for that reason, almost anywhere if you travel to the US, federal and state legislation exists, which forbid you from eliminating wetlands. A house cannot be built on the spot, even if it appears dry, in a wetland environment. If the area is wetlands, then it's basically forbidden, except when granted permission by Corps of Engineers of the U.S. Army together with any state governing bodies that also have the issue permits. Consequently, even though wetlands are beneficial to the entire planet, they sometimes resembles a nightmare investors in land, because if you purchase a plot of land and discover the truth afterwards that area of land is wetlands, then basically whatever part in the area that is those wetlands impact, you are essentially stuck with and are unable to use it in any way unless something remarkable happens. Obtain the necessary licenses. It is unlikely to occur as a result of government does not desire that you destruction of wetlands. I've really had this happen. Several years ago, when I purchased a home that was simply a lovely, amazing property right here on Lake Huron. Right here, it is. This was the package then. Right now, it covered 12 acres. Initially, it appeared to be similar, just an incredible home since it had a large size and 500 feet or so of lakefront. Everything looked fantastic. I paid $4,000 for it, which is a deal. But it is unimportant. The problem I had with this characteristic was that I learned this after I purchased it. A significant chunk of the area was regarded as wetlands, therefore I had to learn pretty soon how much of the property was truly constructible and practical for someone to use a house on the grounds. Consequently, following worried for a few days, I got in touch with a nearby wetlands consultant and hired a surveyor to conduct a survey. Then once everything was finished and I had made a sizable payment of transformation for all, I was successful in obtaining a variety of items. It was one of those things. This shoddy map's drawn marking the location of there was a marsh area there, where it halted, and a place where I could construct something if I wanted to, and in essence, this entire region was covered in swamps. There was a tiny piece of land, which had a somewhat more elevation and emerged from that swampy region. And this location was another far off to the side of the road. You may construct a home, because these are not wetlands. Approximately 80% of these 12 acres was impractical to build because whether wetlands are present. I also ordered this survey, which demonstrated roughly 50% of the property included in the 100 also a year floodline. That was therefore unfortunate that I determined that after I was the property's owner. The good news was that I being able to sell the house for $45,000, therefore it wasn't worth it to turn out to be a bad deal for me because I had purchased it at such a ridiculously low cost. Even though those marshes problems hadn't existed, most likely I could have sold this for a few or so closer to thousands of dollars because someone would be capable of constructing a home directly on the shore with a view of the lake. However, due to these you couldn't do that issues and it had a big influence how much the property is worth when the time to sell it arrived. Despite the fact that I finally completed the survey of the wetlands, completed delineation, despite everything working out, this knowledge, however, has somewhat haunted me. Because I never did want this to occur once again. Place I would purchase a home without actually understanding what was happening to the state of the wetlands and learning the results once it has happened. Oh, this house isn't quite as helpful as you believed, or perhaps it could even wholly ineffective because everything in it is surrounded by marshes and you lack the means to determine that beforehand. That was intolerable to me, and fortunately, I eventually even did learn about this website originating from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Additionally, the FWS has this referred to as the Wetlands Mapper. It is a really amazing resource, and I'll provide a link because it's free to this page immediately below this video. When you arrive to this page, you only need to descend here. Then select the Wetlands Mapper, then move forward and concur with the conditions, then it will display this map. You can essentially accomplish the following: ensuring that wetlands are inspected, you may proceed and enlarge any property which you're seeking to determine whether or not any evidence of its existence of wetlands that are situated there. I'll therefore go and close in regarding the property in question, and we can see how it appears. And I'll demonstrate how it functions. Feel free to close in on this. Okay, so this is where we can see it. The property right is this. As you can see there, if I had been aware of this before I purchased this house, the impact would have been huge. Simple to reach right here, the following map, which plainly demonstrates that, sure, there is a presence of some type. Those wetlands there does occupy roughly 80% of the land. Furthermore, this map by way of the National Wetlands Inventory is not always to exhibit the identical item to the one the U.S. Army Corps provided to me. However, the maps do concur that presence is present. There are wetlands on this land. The good news right now is something you can download as well, this KML document, which periodically updated. Additionally, if you have the desktop version on your PC of Google Earth, that and this can coexist software that displays all identical information in a sense. That adds a bit extra adaptable and simple to deal with, so let's download this right away. Additionally, I'm going to possess a hyperlink to this page moreover beneath the video if you wish to look into this, although after downloading that, you simply need to go forward. And I'll just go ahead and open it and move this immediately the window for Google Earth. You'll notice it as soon as we complete that there are all these additional details. It appears in your sidebar over here, as well as noticing a lot your map needs more color here. If we move forward and reverse the located on the same property, we can pretty much see the same exact thing. There you have it. You'll essentially see the precise details, merely that it is now visible in Google Earth, not using this browser on this other page over here. Hence, in any case, you is fine to wish to do that. Then there's something you might notice. If you kind of pan out and take a look at the entire United States of America, you'll observe that specific various areas of the nation things are significantly colored than others. Areas like the North and Dakota's South, Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, and a few regions of New England then thereafter, if you do pretty the most of the East Coast descending all the way to Florida, the majority of the South, there are numerous areas here that are far more likely of having wetlands affect them. Additionally, if you sketch a general boundary down the center of the nation, the majority of western United States is largely devoid of marshes. You will undoubtedly observe few places here and there, hence, you can't do it. Can be ignored totally, but generally speaking, if you're buying selling real estate in this region of the nation, wetlands will decrease significantly. More of an issue than if you were operating in these regions of the nation. I believe pretty much everywhere. You are employed in the U.S., not something you should typically disregard. Most likely, you should do this prior to purchasing any property. However, as demonstrated in the Occidental United States, it's just a far less frequent problem, which you will have to deal with. Just to be clear, though apparent in this regard, the use of this type of mapping, not all tools are created equal. As hiring a wetlands consultant in reality, or obtaining the U.S. Engineer Corps of the Army to enter your property, they draw their own lines and learn whether the existence of wetlands and in fact create the limits themselves. As evident from what this chart informs me that it precisely the same as what I was told by this drawing. It was rather comparable, although I wouldn't say that I would accept this as the absolute truth. In actuality, if you examine the data restrictions, exclusions, and safety measures that you must consent to prior to even using this, it is nice to read. It is evident that there are no assurances here. A mapping service of some sort. As it says, the purpose of the service creates reconnaissance level of knowledge of the time, place, and this resource's size. There will always be a margin of error. When using visuals, very thorough on-the-ground examination of any certain site could lead to revision the wetlands borders if a classification is made by use of picture analysis. What I remember from these maps are not the last say on when and if the area has wetlands, it's merely a kind of indicator. Therefore, if all you're seeking for similar to any blatant red flags, this is a property on a good starting point. It's not a 100% though. Until you actually do, promise send a representative to inspect the real estate directly. Having said that, if just trying to find the quickest and simplest method to view any possible wetland occurrences on your property, check out this website for sure. I will link to it once more. The 2 pages following this video, hence, you may check your web browser to check it out. Instead, view it in Google Earth. I appreciate you coming. Hope that was of use. Until we meet again.